Hey guys, Andrei from CFX Films here, and this is another Face Behind the Screen video. This week's topic is how big your game should be. So, one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself before you start a game is, what will you get out of this? By that, I mean, time is very valuable, and unless you're going to get some sort of reward at the end of the project, whether it be learning a new game engine or a coding language or team building skills or something else along that line, is it really worth your time? You know, that's something that's very important to think about, because hopefully you're not just making a game to make money off of it and, you know, sell it, try to make some. I hope not. Please watch my other video, my last week's. The link's going to be up on the screen. Wait, where is it? Yeah, it's going to be right there. I don't know what the name was. It's on the screen right now. Click that. Please watch that, because if you're just trying to make games to make money, you're in the wrong business. Once you actually commit to making a game and you decide that, yeah, this is going to be worth my time, this is a good project, there's a checklist that you need to go through. It is very important that you spend a lot of time planning beforehand, because this is a long-term commitment, and there's a lot of things that you have to think about. So, my checklist that I've created based off of my own experience over the past 6 years has been: how big is your team going to be? How much time do you have? How long do you think the game will take to finish? And that's a fun one, because take the amount of time you think it's going to take to finish, now double that, and add a few more months for bug testing. That's more realistic, because it takes a long time to make games, and there's always so many complications, like your 3D modeler quits the team, or one of your guys gets really lazy. You know, you never know, or you're having a coding issue, and you don't know how to solve that. So instead of a 2-week project, it could become a 2-month project. And if you're working on a 2-month project, that could become a 5-month project. It's exponential. Unless you're really organized, unless you're really organized, and that usually comes from experience. What's your, I don't know what number we're on. What's your budget? And do you know how to program or not? Yeah, that's a fun one, because there's a lot of people who say, I want to be the idea guy. Great. Well, you know who else wants to be the idea guy? The guy who can program, who can write, who can 3D model, who can compose, who can do all that stuff for games, who can do all of that. Yeah, he wants to do it too. Who do you think has a better chance? I mean, I'm still learning, but from all the developers that I've talked to too, some of my friends down at Firaxis, they have been very set on that logic too. Just like, don't, you know, you have to have this checklist. Always expands your projected deadline. Yeah, push that back, because you're probably not going to make it. So those are just some questions that you should think about. And I've always liked to have very ambitious ideas, and even though I still do, over the years I have gotten better at being able to constrain my ideas. So even though I'm still thinking big, I think more realistically, and I think, okay, how long is this going to take? How many people do I have? If this doesn't work, it's also really good to have a backup plan where a lot of my games are built in chunks. So I have this foundation that works with the core game, but then if this idea doesn't work, I can still reuse these assets, use the code and the resources that I have, and continue a project from there, or cancel it, but I still have something solid to work with. So all that the time is not lost. Yeah, and from a lot of young developers that I've talked to, and even though I'm a young developer too, I mean, I'm not placing myself on a different level or category. I am with all the other developers my age, but just a common theme that I've noticed, or a pattern with a lot of developers my age and younger, is that they think way too big, and they want to create really large games. Like, I want to create the next Destiny, and they say, yeah, I'm working on this new MMO. Why? Why are you working on an MMO? Don't do that. The networking is painful. It is expensive. There's the servers. You know, what does the player see that you see on your screen? And and there's all these different complications. They're huge games, and you have to have everybody running around, and the NPCs. You got to program every single one of those. The database, you got to get all the music, and it's so much work. And is it really worth it when there's a company just a few states or countries over that is making a game for free, and they have over 100 employees doing it? You can't really compete. You really have to think about the scale of the project in the sense of how will I get the most out of this? So don't try to create a game to compete with other games, other AAA titles. You're an indie developer. You should be, you can compete with AAA games. There are certain games that do that really well. But you have to get lucky too. A lot of it is luck. So you should focus more on something smaller, like a proof of concept. So prove to yourself that you can finish a project first, because once you know yourself that you can finish a project, you will respect yourself more. You'll have more self-respect, and others will respect you more in the game development industry. Other developers your age, because if you're trying to assemble a team for a game and somebody else is trying to assemble a team, like, okay, here's you, here's this other guy. You have finished your projects before. You have successful projects. This guy doesn't finish any of his projects and he quits a lot. You're assembling a team. He's assembling a team. Here's a 3D modeler. I'm going to block the camera here. Here's a 3D modeler. He's saying, I want to work on a new game. Do I want to work with this guy or this guy? Where is my time going to be spent better? Because this guy values his time. The older you get, the more you're going to value your time, because the less you have. So he would probably rather spend his time working on the project that will be the better investment. So if he's investing his time in a project that's probably not going to finish, he's not going to like that. And that's a really awful feeling when a project that you work so long on, you spend so many hours on, just falls apart. Like I wrote dozens of tracks. I was a composer for an MMO a while back, and I wrote dozens of tracks, and I made so many different particle effects. And then the guys that are making the game, they changed engines, and they're like, yeah, you got to learn the new engine. And I'm just like, I'm not going to learn this new engine right now. I don't have time. All of those particle effects went down the drain. I probably spent over 100 hours total working on that project, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. Fortunately, I was actually able to sell some of the particle effects online. So I did a lot of online marketing for a while and game prefabs, like Unity prefabs. So that worked out, and I actually gained so much experience writing music from that game, that I started using those techniques and styles and working its way into the film industry, because I do freelance composing. And fortunately, I was lucky enough that all became really useful. But it's not always like that, and not everybody is so fortunate with that. So you need to value your time, but you also need to value others' time, because time is very valuable, and you don't want to be wasting other people's time. And it's fun to make a game with friends, but choose your team carefully, because when I was saying about how big you want your team to be, one of it is just being able to manage it, but you have to be able to be working with developers or people that you can trust enough that you know are actually going to be working and committed. Because if you have the wrong team, or if you pick somebody that's not fully committed, that can cause problems down the road. Because if they get lazy and they quit, you can potentially cancel your project or significantly delay it, and neither of those are very fun. So that's always something to think about. And that's really all I really have to say about this. Again, this is my experience over the past 5 or 6 years that I've been making games and trying to work with other developers, and just this. It's been really interesting trying to figure that out and learn it for myself. And I encourage all of you to go to learn that yourself. And I mean, I can tell you this now, but in order for you to really understand it, I think there's a certain degree that you have to be able to experience it yourself. And the more you develop games, the more you're going to figure all that out for yourself. And I said yourself a lot. But yeah, in summary, focus on smaller games. Don't try to make something big. Don't try to compete with these big games because it's not worth it. Your time is valuable. Other people's time is valuable too. Keep that in mind, and that will help you a lot when you're making a decision on what kind of game you want to make. So I hope you guys found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I have a couple more that I made previously, and sort of like this. And I have game development tutorials, audio production tutorials, because again, I'm a freelance composer. I post some of my tracks too, so you can hear that. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And I will see you next time.